If you're fascinated by untold stories of ingenuity under fire, of ordinary soldiers solving extraordinary problems in the chaos of war, make sure you hit subscribe and turn on notifications. What you're about to hear is a true account of how 3 carefully chosen words saved lives on one of World War II's bloodiest beachheads. This is the story of Operation Shingle, Anzio, January 1944, and one telephone operator whose small innovation would reshape how an entire division fought. The landing craft's ramp drops into Blackwater. Captain Morris watches his men wade ashore, their rifles held high, spray breaking across their chests. Behind them, the rumble never stops. 3 days into the beachhead, and the sound of artillery has become the heartbeat of Anzio, constant, deafening, inescapable. The beach itself is already a graveyard of rusted metal, split ammunition boxes, and the smell of diesel, salt, and something else that nobody names. The Germans are dug into the heights beyond Nate-Tuno, their guns zeroed in on every approach, their counterattacks coming in waves that seem to have no end. In a reinforced dugout carved into the muddy earth 200 yards from the water's edge, Private First Class Thomas Hendricks sits at a field telephone switchboard, his headset pressing into his ears. Around him, the sound is constant, ring after ring, voice after voice, each one urgent, each one demanding fire. His fingers work the plugs with practiced efficiency, his other hand scribbling coordinates on a sodden notepad. The paper is so wet that the pencil tears through it. He flips to a fresh page. There is no shortage of fresh pages down here. Thomas is 23 years old. Before this war, he worked in a telephone exchange in Pittsburgh. He knows how to route calls, how to stay calm when 2 people are shouting at him at once, how to maintain order in the chaos of a switchboard. The skills that seemed mundane in Pennsylvania have become essential here. But nothing in Pittsburgh prepared him for this. Nothing prepared him for the weight of knowing that a wrong connection, a misheard number, a single mistake in relay, could send shells into his own men instead of the enemy. The beachhead is barely 3 miles deep and 6 miles wide. It feels smaller every day. The landscape is a patchwork of drainage ditches, stone walls, and ruined farmhouses. The mud is everywhere. Rain fell for 2 straight days, and the ground hasn't dried since. The wiremen, men like Cable Sergeant Ross, a lean, sinewy soldier who seems to exist on coffee and cigarettes, string their E8 telephone lines through this morass, running them from the fire direction center to the battalion switchboard, then out to the observation posts scattered across the forward positions. These lines are lifelines. They are also desperately fragile. A single shell splinter, a careless vehicle wheel, and hours of work is undone. The wiremen repair them anyway, crawling through mud, dodging snipers, splicing frayed ends in darkness. The Fire Direction Center is a low concrete structure about 200 yards inland from Thomas's switchboard. This is where the magic happens, or doesn't. Officers take the fire missions, calls from forward observers requesting artillery strikes, and calculate gun settings based on grid coordinates, distance, wind, ammunition type. The calculations are complex. They have to be exact. 100 yards off, and you've missed. 200 yards off in a congested area, and you've just killed your own people. Thomas's switchboard connects the observation posts to the Fire Direction Center. He's the first filter. His job is to take the raw call, confirm the caller, confirm that the information is being transmitted correctly, and plug them through to the Fire Direction Center. It sounds simple. It is not simple. Especially not when the forward observers are under fire, when their voices are shaking, when they are giving coordinates in bursts between artillery impacts that shake the ground beneath him. On the morning of February 3rd, everything changes. The Germans launch a coordinated counterattack from the Alban Hills. It is one of their biggest efforts yet. Artillery pounds the beachhead in waves. The observation posts, dug into the forward slopes overlooking enemy territory, are scrambling to call in corrections and requests for fire support. Thomas's switchboard lights up like a Christmas tree. Every line is ringing. His hands fly across the panel. The call comes in on line 6. The voice belongs to Lieutenant Walsh, a forward observer with the 2nd Battalion. He is breathless. Behind him, small arms fire is cracking. Fire mission. Fire mission. Coordinates 475443. Enemy armor, approximately 12 German panzers moving south through the drainage gully at Checkpoint Baker. Request immediate fire support. Urgency is extreme. Thomas writes it down. His writing is shaking. The coordinates are in a grid system, and he reads them back to confirm. 475. 44. Everything checks out. He plugs the call through to fire direction. The FDC officer confirms receipt. Within seconds, orders go out to the gun batteries. The guns boom. The sound is tremendous. Through the dugout walls, Thomas can feel the concussion. 15 seconds later, the call comes back on line 6. Check fire. Check fire. Rounds are impacting near my position. Thomas's blood turns to ice. He hears the sickening sound of a near-miss boom across the line. Lieutenant Walsh is shouting. You've got your coordinates flipped. The enemy is south, not north. You're putting rounds in my own sector. Check fire now. Thomas's face goes pale. The coordinates. He looks at the notepad. 475443. He checks the call sheet. That's what he wrote down. He confirms with FDC again, voice tight. Check fire. Cease fire. Investigate coordinates. By the time the guns fall silent, 3 American soldiers are dead. One is a sergeant named Mitchell. Thomas will learn later that Mitchell was from Pennsylvania, 2, Lancaster County, about 40 miles from where Thomas was born. 12 more men are wounded, some severely. The shells that were meant to kill Germans killed Americans instead. And Thomas Hendricks was the man who connected the call. For 3 days, Thomas barely leaves his chair. He doesn't eat properly. He drinks coffee until his hands shake from caffeine and shock. The switchboard continues to ring. Calls continue to be routed. The job doesn't pause for guilt or grief. But something has broken inside him. Every time a new fire mission comes in, he feels his chest tighten. Every time he confirms coordinates, he imagines those coordinates being wrong, imagines more shells landing in the wrong place, imagines more blood on his hands. It is Cable Sergeant Ross who finds him on the 4th night, sitting outside the dugout in the mud, smoking a cigarette he doesn't remember lighting. You're going to make yourself sick, Ross says. He sits down beside Thomas without waiting for an invitation. I've seen this before. Guys getting stuck in their heads after something goes wrong. How? Thomas asks. His voice sounds unfamiliar, like it's coming from someone else. How do we stop this from happening again? Ross lights his own cigarette. He's quiet for a long moment. The problem isn't you, he says finally. The problem is that when things get chaotic, when men are scared, when voices are distorted by a field telephone line, it becomes too easy to mishear. Too easy to make a mistake. That's not comforting, Thomas says. I know, Ross replies. But if it's a problem with the system, then we can fix the system. Thomas looks at him. How? Ross takes a drag on his cigarette. By making it harder to make mistakes. By building in redundancy. By forcing confirmation. Over the next week, Thomas works with Captain Henry Caldwell, who commands the Fire Direction Center, and with the forward observers. They sit in muddy tents and reinforced dugouts, and they work through scenarios. What went wrong? What could prevent it? The observation posts are spread across 3 main sectors: the northern perimeter, the central plateau, and the southern ridge. Each sector has forward observers with different call signs. Each sector has its own set of artillery batteries assigned to support it. The idea comes to Thomas during a late-night shift, somewhere around 2 in the morning. The switchboard is momentarily quiet. He is looking at the call sheet, at all the fire missions that have come through. He is looking at the pattern of errors that others have reported, the near misses that were caught in time, the close calls that never made it to the firing pins. Most of the errors come when information is repeated. A coordinate is given. It is written down. It is read back. But in that cycle of speaking and writing and reading, meanings blur. Numbers that sound similar get confused. The sound of a field telephone distorts frequencies. A 6 can sound like a 9. The 4 can sound like a 5. And with the roar of artillery in the background, with men's voices shaking from adrenaline and fear, the errors accumulate. What if there was a way to make every fire mission carry an identifier that couldn't be mistaken? What if, instead of just confirming raw coordinates and grid references, there was a code, a simple, spoken code, that would make it nearly impossible to route a fire mission to the wrong sector or wrong battery? Thomas sketches it out on paper. 3 words. The first word identifies the sector. The second word identifies the specific battery within that sector. The third word is a random check word that changes with each mission, generated from a simple table that the FDC and all the observation posts have memorized. If a fire mission comes in and the check word doesn't match, it's flagged immediately. If someone mishears a coordinate, the word changes, and the error is caught. It is elegant in its simplicity. It is the kind of thing that seems obvious only after someone thinks of it. Thomas takes his sketch to Captain Caldwell the next morning. Caldwell reads through it slowly, his eyes moving across the page. He is a career officer, a man who has seen action in North Africa, and he understands both the risks and the cost-saving potential of getting communications right. This is good thinking, Caldwell says. But it only works if everyone uses it consistently. And if it slows down our response time, it won't help us. The check word is fast, Thomas says. It's 3 words spoken quickly. 4 or 5 seconds added to each fire mission. If we catch even 1 error per 100 missions, we've saved time by preventing casualties and the chaos that follows. Caldwell nods. He calls a meeting with the battalion officers and the senior NCOs from the Fire Direction Center. Thomas presents the idea. He is nervous. He is a private first class presenting an operational concept to officers. But desperation does strange things to military hierarchy. Everyone in that room has made a mistake or nearly made one. Everyone has seen the results of miscommunication. The word system gets christened the triple check. The first word identifies the sector using the first letter of a color: red for the red sector, green for green, blue for blue. These sectors never change. They are the permanent division of the beachhead. The second word identifies the battery using a bird. Eagle battery gets eagle. Falcon battery gets falcon, hawk battery gets hawk, and so on. The third word is generated using a random table that changes with each mission. Today's check word for mission 1 might be alpha. Tomorrow's first mission might be Baker. The combinations are endless. Red Eagle Alpha, a forward observer would now say. Fire mission. Coordinates 478494. Enemy position in drainage gully. The FDC officer hears Red Eagle Alpha and immediately knows red sector, Eagle battery, and today's first check word is alpha. If the words don't line up, if someone mishears and it comes out as Red Hawk Alpha, the operator knows immediately that something is wrong and asks for confirmation before the guns fire. The training begins. Every forward observer, every FDC officer, every gun crew sergeant has to memorize the sector colors, the battery birds, and how to read the daily check word table. It is simple information, but it has to be second nature. In combat, there is no time to flip through a notebook. It has to be instant. Thomas spends hours drilling with the observation posts over the telephone line. He reads codes to them. They read codes back to him. He tries to catch them out, giving wrong codes to see if they'll correct him. Most of them get it quickly. Some take longer. A few resist at first, old soldiers who have been making fire missions for years without any fancy code system, but the resistance fades when someone explains that the system was designed by a switch operator and approved because it might have prevented the February 3rd incident that killed 3 of their friends. The first Real test comes under fire, exactly a week after the system is approved. The Germans are probing the northern sector. Forward observer Lieutenant Walsh, the same man who had the friendly fire called on his position, is at an OP overlooking the approach to the main defensive line. Enemy infantry is moving through a dead zone about 2 kilometers out. Switchboard, this is Northern OP Walsh. Fire mission, he says. Thomas recognizes his voice. Northern OP Walsh, switchboard standing by. Fire mission. Triple check Red Eagle Beta. Enemy infantry estimated platoon strength advancing through grid 479345. Request fire support immediate. Thomas writes it down. Red Eagle Beta. Red Sector, Eagle Battery. Today's second fire mission uses the check word beta. He reads it back. Fire mission confirmed. Red Eagle Beta. Enemy infantry platoon grid 479345. That's correct, Walsh confirms. Thomas plugs through to fire direction. The FDC officer takes it. Fire mission received. Red Eagle Beta confirmed. That's correct, Thomas says. The guns bark. Shells streak downrange. 20 seconds later, Walsh comes back on the line. Impact. Impact. Good grouping. Target eliminated. Casualties unknown but fire mission successful. It is not dramatic. It is not a showdown moment. It is just a fire mission executed correctly. But to Thomas, to everyone involved, it feels like proof. The system works. Over the next 3 weeks, as the beachhead stabilizes and the Germans increase the tempo of their counterattacks, the triple check system becomes routine. It becomes automatic. Operators stop thinking about it and just do it. The code becomes as natural as breathing. But the real test, the moment where the system will either vindicate itself or collapse, comes on March 1st, when the Germans launch their Operation Shingle, a massive coordinated attack designed to push the Allies back into the sea. The attack begins before dawn. Across the beachhead, observation posts that have been quiet for weeks suddenly light up with activity. German armor is moving. German infantry is advancing. The scale of the attack is unlike anything the Americans have seen yet. Artillery from multiple enemy batteries is pounding the forward positions. The air is filled with the roar of incoming shells, the crackle of small arms fire, and the shout of men trying to be heard over the chaos. Thomas's switchboard becomes a storm. Lines ring constantly. His hands move so fast that he barely registers what he is doing. Call after call comes in. Forward observers are nearly screaming. Fire missions are backing up. FDC is requesting he slow down, that they can't process fire missions faster than this. But the calls keep coming. The enemy is not slowing down. The rate of fire can't decrease. It can only stay the same or increase. Switchboard. Switchboard. Northern OP, this is Southern Sector Colonel Nichols. Fire mission priority immediate. Thomas plugs into the line. His heart is racing. Colonel Nichols is a senior officer. When a colonel is calling in a fire mission personally, it means the situation is critical. Southern Sector, switchboard standing by. Triple check. Greenhawk. Grid coordinates are, standby, grid, 501374. Enemy armor, approximately 8 panzers. Behind his voice, Thomas hears the violent impact of a nearby shell. Nichols coughs. Enemy armor moving toward our main line. This is as hot as it gets. Request immediate fire support. Thomas writes it down. His hand is shaking. He reads it back. Green Hawk Mike confirmed. Enemy armor grid 501374. That's correct. Nichols shouts. Thomas plugs through to FDC. But as he plugs through, something in his head catches. Green Hawk Mike. He looks at his checkword table. Today's code table Today's code table for Green Sector? He runs his finger down the list. Fire Mission 1 in Green Sector this morning was Alpha. Fire Mission 2 was Baker. Fire Mission 3 was Charlie. But he counts the calls. This would be the 8th fire mission in Green Sector today. The 8th fire mission should use the check word hotel, not Mike. Thomas's breath catches. His instinct screams at him, something is wrong. But the colonel said Green Hawk Mike. Did Thomas mishear? Did Nichols say hotel instead of Mike, and Thomas's mind, already tired and saturated with noise, turned it into something else? He calls Colonel Nichols back. The line rings. It rings again. And again. No answer. The line is open, but Nichols isn't responding. Maybe he's ducking incoming fire. Maybe he's attending to the situation. Maybe he's dead. Thomas has to make a decision. He has maybe 5 seconds. Around him, the switchboard is still screaming with activity. Calls are queuing up. The Germans are still attacking. Every moment he waits is a moment a fire mission isn't getting through. He thinks about Lieutenant Walsh's position on February 3rd. He thinks about the 3 dead men. He thinks about the weight of making a mistake that costs lives. He calls back to FDC. Hold fire mission. I'm having Colonel Nichols reconfirm the check word on the Green Hawk mission. What? The FDC officer sounds incredulous. We've got 8 guns trained and ready. Colonel Nichols is senior command. What's the issue? Check word doesn't match the sequence, Thomas says quickly. I need confirmation before you fire. There is a pause. In that pause, Thomas can hear the sound of the FDC officer thinking. He can hear artillery exploding in the background. He can hear men's voices. Understood, the FDC officer says finally. We'll hold. Thomas waits. 30 seconds pass. Then 40. The switchboard rings. It's Colonel Nichols again, out of breath. Switchboard, did you? Nichols is shouting over background noise. Colonel Nichols, I need you to reconfirm the check word on that fire mission. I have Green Hawk Mike, but I need you to verify. What? Hotel? It's Green Hawk Hotel. I don't know where you got Mike from, but it's hotel. Relief floods through Thomas. Green Hawk Hotel confirmed. Transmitting to fire direction now. He plugs back to FDC. Green Hawk Hotel confirmed. You are cleared to fire. Seconds later, the guns boom. 8 guns firing simultaneously. The shells streak toward the coordinates Nichols gave. There is a pause of about 30 seconds, and then the explosion. The sound reaches even down here in the dugout, even with the deafening noise of everything else. It is a massive explosion, not one point but an entire zone going up. Nichols comes back on the line 15 seconds later. His voice is shaky but jubilant. Switchboard, you got the German armor. Direct hit on the lead panzer. The whole column scattered. We've got secondary explosions, enemy infantry routing. That fire mission just stopped a breakthrough. Thomas closes his eyes. He feels something release in his chest, a tension that has been building since he took the wrong call 3 weeks ago. The system worked. It actually worked. It caught the error. It prevented the mistake. For the next 6 hours, the beachhead is under a continuous attack. Fire missions pour through the switchboard. In that time, the triple check system is tested again and again. There are 3 more instances where the check words don't match, where something is slightly off, where the system catches a potential error. In one case, an observer mishears an incoming coordinate and gives the wrong grid. The system catches it because he forgets to adjust the check word to match. In another case, a young private on the switchboard mishears a sector color, hears green when the observer said red. The wrong check word for green sector flags it immediately. Each time, the error is caught before the guns fire. Each time, there is a moment of reconfirmation, a moment where the system buys time for human judgment to correct the mistake. By the time the German attack runs out of steam, by the time the enemy withdraws to regroup, it is clear to every commander on the beachhead that something has changed. The casualty rate from friendly fire has plummeted. The efficiency of fire support has increased dramatically. Artillery is now being used with precision and confidence instead of the old guesswork that had characterized the previous weeks. Captain Caldwell, sitting in the fire direction center, calculates the numbers. In the 3 weeks before the triple check system was implemented, friendly fire incidents accounted for approximately 8% of the beachhead's non-combat casualties. In the 3 weeks after, that number dropped to less than 3%, a reduction of approximately 64% in friendly fire incidents. 64%. It sounds like a statistic. But statistics are people. Statistics are Sergeant Mitchell and his 11 wounded comrades. Statistics are the fact that families in America are getting letters instead of casualty notices because a telephone operator decided to think differently about how information moves through a system. The system spreads. By late March, other divisions using the same communication setup have heard about the triple check concept. They asked to implement it. By April, higher command has issued guidance recommending it. By May, the system is standard operating procedure across the entire beachhead. And by the time Operation Shingle officially ends with the breakout from Anzio, the triple check system has become so ingrained that nobody can remember how they ever coordinated fire support without it. Thomas Hendricks finishes his tour at Anzio in May 1944. He receives a commendation, not the flashiest award, not a medal with a ribbon, but a signed letter from General John P. Lucas himself, commending him for his contribution to improved communications efficiency and reduced casualty rates. The letter doesn't make it into the official record. The contribution will remain anonymous, uncredited, known only to the men who used it and lived because of it. He is transferred stateside in June. He spends the rest of the war running a switchboard at a training facility in North Carolina. He never fires a gun. He never participates in a combat operation again. But he carries with him the knowledge that 3 words, carefully chosen, consistently executed, rigorously confirmed, changed the outcome of a pivotal moment in the war. He carries with him the understanding that innovation doesn't always come from high command. Sometimes it comes from a frightened private sitting at a switchboard in the mud, trying to figure out how not to kill his own people. After the war, Thomas returns to Pittsburgh. He returns to the telephone exchange. The work feels different now. Every call is just a call. There are no lives hanging in the balance. But there is a quiet satisfaction in doing the job right, in making sure messages reach their destination accurately, in understanding that communication is not just about moving information from point A to point B but about doing it in a way that protects and preserves the people involved. He never writes about the system. He never lectures about it. He doesn't become famous. Most people who knew him never knew about his role in developing the triple check system. He is just a man who lived, who did his job, and who saw a problem and fixed it. But the problem he fixed mattered. It mattered to the men at Anzio. It mattered to the families who got their sons back instead of a telegram. It mattered to the artillery officers who could now coordinate fire support with confidence instead of anxiety. It mattered to the forward observers who could call in strikes without fear that their own comrades would be hit by those strikes. In the grand historical narratives of World War II, the Anzio beachhead is remembered as a costly stalemate that eventually led to the breakout and the advance on Rome. In the military histories, it is remembered as an important lesson in amphibious operations and the vulnerability of shallow beachheads to determined enemy counterattacks. In the personal memories of the men who were there, it is remembered as mud, fear, exhaustion, and the constant presence of death. But for the men who used the triple check system, it is remembered as something else. It is remembered as a moment when someone looked at a problem that seemed insurmountable, how to prevent errors in communication when chaos is the default state, and found a solution so simple and elegant that it became routine, became automatic, became just the way things were done. The solution didn't require advanced technology. It didn't require new equipment. It didn't require vast resources. It required only clear thinking, careful analysis, and the willingness to impose structure on chaos. It required someone willing to take responsibility for a mistake and convert that pain into something that saved others. If you're listening to this story and thinking about the kind of problems you face in your own life, in your own work, I encourage you to remember Thomas Hendricks and his 3 words. Sometimes the most powerful solutions are the ones we overlook because they seem too simple, too obvious, too elegant to actually work. But in the muddy, blood-soaked landscape of Anzio in 1944, they worked. And they kept saving lives right up until the war ended. If you found this story compelling, if you want to hear more untold stories of innovation, courage, and human ingenuity in moments of crisis, I urge you to subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell. These are the stories that don't make it into the mainstream history books, the stories of ordinary people doing extraordinary things in the most extraordinary circumstances. New episodes come out every week, and each one is a deep dive into a moment that changed the course of events. Subscribe now, and you'll be part of a community of people who understand that history is not just about great leaders and grand strategies. It's about the private first classes and the cable sergeants and the forward observers who solved problems under pressure, who innovated when their lives depended on it, and who, in the process, saved countless others.